Hello Moto GP enthusiasts. Welcome back to ZNGP Today. Dennis Noyes offered a concise, data-backed read on the early 2026 championship. Ducati remains broadly as strong as last year, but rivals have closed the gap, most notably Aprilia, producing a more open, unpredictable title fight. Noyes combined statistical observation with tactical insight to explain why parity, not dominance, now defines the paddock. Tensions between Gresini and VR46 boiled over after Ducati decided Fermín Aldeguer will move to VR46 in 2027. The decision, taken at Borgo Panigale's behest and tied to contractual options and financial incentives, left Gresini feeling sidelined and briefly considering a break with its longtime manufacturer partner. The episode exposes the fragile diplomacy Ducati must play between its satellite teams and highlights how rider movement can destabilize established relationships. Jorge Martin delivered a measured, determined reaction after a hard-fought second place at Coda, telling Pol Espargaro and the paddock that Ducati's form will normalize at Jerez. The Spaniard combined relief at a strong result with realism about his physical limits and a clear, strategic plan: score steadily now, attack later in the season. Early trends are clear. Aprilia's Marco Bezzecchi is the season's biggest improver, while several Ducati names, most notably Alex Marquez, have seen the sharpest year-on-year declines. The first 3 rounds have reshuffled expectations, momentum has swung to teams that close development gaps, and the points table reflects both progress and missed opportunities. Don't forget to click subscribe button and the bell icon for MotoGP news update. Noyes' central claim is simple: Ducati hasn't collapsed, but other manufacturers have improved enough that the old margins no longer apply. Ducati is more or less the same as last year, but the others have improved, he said, framing the season as one where small gains across several teams add up to a fundamentally different competitive map. When multiple rivals advance simultaneously, the championship becomes a chess match of incremental development rather than a one-team sprint. Aprilia's progress is the clearest example of that shift. Noyes pointed to measurable pace gains and consistent results, led by Marco Bezzecchi, as evidence that Noyes' package now sets the benchmark on many weekends. Bezzecchi's consistency, Noyes argued, is the practical expression of Aprilia's technical and organizational momentum. A single team's step forward can reshape rivals' priorities and force reactive development across the grid. Noyes did not spare Marc Marquez in his assessment. Statistically, this is the Spaniard's weakest start since returning as an official Ducati rider. He linked the dip to physical strain, noting Marquez's particular vulnerability when front grip is high, a condition that amplifies the demands on his injured shoulder. Yet Noyes also observed a silver lining. As grip falls off during races, Marquez's competitiveness returns. This is his worst start to a season as an official rider. Physical limits change how and where a rider can exploit strengths. Race management becomes as important as outright pace. Noyes argued Ducati's figures look similar to last year, but that relative stagnation is costly when rivals are improving. He flagged tire management and race-long consistency, areas where Ducati's advantage has narrowed, and suggested the factory's development path has not produced the same quantum leap rivals achieved. In a tight field, maintaining last year's baseline can feel like falling behind. Experience and racecraft matter in this tighter championship. Noyes highlighted Jorge Martin's championship news as a potential differentiator, a rider who knows how to fight through a long season. He also pointed to Pecco Bagnaia's tire management as an area under scrutiny, and noted that mid-pack names like Alex Marquez and Franco Morbidelli reflect Ducati's broader depth issues this year. When machinery is closely matched, rider experience and strategic consistency often decide outcomes. Noyes' verdict is clear: MotoGP in 2026 is more balanced than it has been in years. Aprilia's rise, KTM's progress, and Yamaha's rebuilding have compressed the field, turning every weekend into a test of development discipline and race management. With Jerez approaching, the next European rounds will reveal whether Ducati can respond or if the season truly belongs to a more plural, unpredictable era. Ducati has long acted as mediator between VR46 and Gresini, two satellite teams that publicly admit they don't get along. The Aldeguer transfer intensified those frictions. Gresini wanted to keep the Spaniard, Aldeguer preferred to stay, but Ducati's contractual option and VR46's greater financial muscle ultimately decided the outcome. The result was a near crisis in Ducati's garage diplomacy. When a manufacturer controls rider placements across client teams, perceived favoritism can quickly erode trust. Aldeguer's path to VR46 was paved by a contract clause signed in his final Moto 2 year that gave Ducati the option to place him with VR46 through 2028. Financial incentives and the promise of the latest factory specification bike, the same machinery Marquez and Acosta will ride, made the move commercially logical for Ducati and attractive to Aldeguer, despite his personal wish to remain at Gresini. Contractual options and budget disparities often trump rider preference in modern Moto GP roster decisions. Aldeguer's departure left Gresini scrambling. Options were limited, a return to Aprilia was politically fraught, talks with Honda produced no deal, and Yamaha's current instability made a switch unattractive. Staying with Ducati emerged as the pragmatic choice, even if it meant accepting a strained relationship and a less favorable development pipeline. Satellite teams with narrow supplier choices face constrained bargaining power when top prospects are reallocated. Gresini will promote Danny Holgado to the MotoGP seat, while the second slot is likely to go to Enea Bastianini if KTM releases him. Di Giannantonio remains a strong internal candidate. For VR46, Aldeguer will join as the first non-Italian rider, pairing with Ducati's factory stars and receiving the latest spec bike under the manufacturer's 2027 regulatory reset. Riders' shuffles will reshape development priorities. Factory backseats gain faster upgrades, widening the performance gap. The episode underlines three strategic pressures for Ducati: manage satellite politics to avoid alienating partners, concentrate development on factory and preferred teams ahead of new regulations, and balance commercial decisions with paddock goodwill. For Gresini, the loss is both sporting and reputational. For VR46, the gain strengthens its factory alignment and global profile. Short-term roster gains can create long-term relationship costs if not handled transparently. The Aldeguer transfer is more than a single rider move, it's a stress test of Ducati's satellite model. If Borgo Panigale can stabilize relations with Gresini and ensure fair development pathways for all client teams, the paddock fallout will be contained. If not, the incident may prompt deeper realignments among satellite teams and suppliers as the 2027 regulations redraw competitive and commercial lines. Martin described Austin as a weekend that exceeded expectations. He executed a perfect outside start, and then rode a patient race, staying in the slipstream before attempting decisive moves. A near crash mid-race, a dramatic save with his foot under the bike, underlined how close he came to losing everything, yet he recovered and pushed on to second. "I gave it my all, I left everything on the track." Races are often decided by how riders respond to moments of crisis. Martin turned a scare into momentum. Martin admitted his approach was deliberately conservative: lower expectations for the team, avoid unnecessary risks, and capitalize on opportunities as they arose. He acknowledged that his early patience may have cost him the final edge, but the tactic delivered a podium and reinforced a race-by-race mentality. "I decided to stay behind them for a few laps. I tried to lower expectations a bit." Tactical restraint can preserve championship prospects even when outright pace is available. Physical strain was a recurring theme. Martin revealed his left arm was completely wrecked in the closing laps, making the finale a test of endurance as much as speed. He also conceded he is not yet at 100% fitness, underlining that managing his body across a long season is now part of his competitive calculus. "I didn't even think I'd physically reach this point. I'm not at 100% yet." Physical condition shapes when and how a rider can exploit peak performance. Endurance matters as much as raw pace. Martin celebrated consistency, 4 consecutive podiums, but refused to get carried away. He stressed the importance of improving qualifying, where he believes many races are won or lost, and reiterated a low-profile plan for the immediate future: accumulate points now and strike harder later. "We have to keep that race-by-race mentality. We need to improve in qualifying." Consistent scoring builds a platform for later aggression. Qualifying remains a critical lever. Responding to Paul Espargaro's suggestion that this could be Martin's season-defining moment, the Madrid rider was pragmatic. He forecast that Jerez will reset expectations. "In Jerez, everything will return to normal. Ducati will return to normal." The line signals confidence that Ducati's package will reassert itself on European tracks, and that Martin plans to be ready when it does. European circuits often reveal the true balance of power. Martin expects the pendulum to swing back toward Borgo Panigale. Martin's Austin weekend combined grit, tactical intelligence, and a reminder of physical limits. His message is strategic: score steadily, protect the team, and prepare to capitalize when Ducati's expected recovery arrives at Jerez. If the factory regains its usual form, Martin intends to be in the right place to turn consistent podiums into race wins and a sustained title challenge. Marco Bezzecchi has been the standout improver, collecting 81 of 111 possible points across Buram, Brazil and Coda, a plus 57 swing versus the same stage in 2025. Aprilia's package and Bezzecchi's consistency have turned early promise into tangible championship momentum. Rapid, sustained point gains early in the year create breathing room and force rivals into reactive development. Alex Marquez has suffered the steepest drop, falling 59 points behind his 2025 tally at the same stage. Where he once led the standings, this season has been a struggle to match last year's form. The decline highlights how quickly fortunes can reverse when a rider or team loses rhythm. Early season slippage can compound if confidence and development momentum aren't restored quickly. Ducati's roster shows several notable declines. Francesco Bagnaia is down 50 points, and Marc Marquez has lost 41 points year-on-year. Mechanical DNFs, sprint incidents, and tire management issues have all contributed to a weaker opening compared with 2025. When a factory's advantage narrows, even small operational errors or injuries become season-defining. Pedro Acosta has made a major leap, rising from 16 to 60 points, positioning him early in the championship chase behind Bezzecchi and Martin. KTM's progress and Acosta's consistency underline how quickly a young rider can capitalize when the package improves. A single rider's breakout can elevate a manufacturer's profile and force rivals to reallocate development resources. Yamaha's transition to the V4 has left its riders short of last year's returns. Jack Miller has yet to score on the new bike, and Fabio Quartararo has slipped from 16 to 6 points. Other Ducati satellites and mid-pack names, e.g. Franco Morbidelli, have also seen notable declines. Radical technical changes can produce short-term pain even for experienced riders. Recovery depends on rapid, targeted fixes. The opening 3 rounds have reshaped the early championship narrative. Aprilia's rise and KTM's gains have compressed the field, while Ducati's early setbacks and individual rider issues have opened a window for rivals. With many rounds still to run, the key questions are whether Ducati can arrest the slide and whether improving teams can sustain their momentum across Europe. Jerez and the upcoming development windows will be decisive in determining whether these early trends harden into a season-long story or reverse as upgrades arrive. Thanks for watching ZNGP Today, and this is your Moto GP news update. And see you next time!